So I'm here today with director Scott Kunkle and writer Adrian Horodecky of Cage Bear 3 Stellar INTERVEX. And for the audience, this film will be available to stream on the Writing Film Fest virtual festival, and that begins on October 9th. So for the both of you, this is the third installment of the Cage Bear series.
Yes.
So I wanted to get a bit of background. So you made the first Cage the Bear in 2016. So how long did you guys know each other, and you were working on the film before that?
We made 2 movies before that together. Wake Up Calls in 2007, starring the amazing Kreskin. And we made Bite Night, which is a vampire satire, in 2011. And just so we're going to plug a movie here, Bite Night is the most viewed movie ever made in Reading on YouTube. Approaching 30,000 views. If you look, no other movie has that many views on YouTube. So it's BITENITE. It's a vampire satire. You'll love it. So we've been together making movies back then. It's 15 years already.
Yeah.
That's great. It's been a long time. So, Adrian, when you wrote Cage the Bear, did you know that it would be a trilogy and that it would expand in size and scale in such a way?
No, well, I wrote the first one and we were going to stop there. But then at the very end, we added a little scene just to open the door where Natasha defects and she starts working for Steve. And then that opened the door for the second one. The second one ended really because the Cage the Bear, we catch Putin at the end, and that was going to end there. Okay.
The bear being Putin.
Putin. Okay,
Yeah.
the Russian bear. And then that door was closed, and then a couple of friends of mine said, "No, you gotta make another movie. Put Putin in there, more Putin." I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do that. So I had to undo the Cage and start all over, make a whole new.
For the record, I was not the one begging for a third movie, but I got roped into it anyway.
But that movie went through 30 rewrites. Okay, by the time I had the first draft, I already rewrote it like 10 times. And then we shot like about 80% of it. And then COVID shows up. And then everybody's schedules got screwed up. And then we had to rewrite it like 10 different times. And then change the whole ending. And then it was all over the place. And after 30 rewrites, we finally got it. Yeah.
So to your initial question, it wasn't ever planned as a trilogy.
No.
It just kind of... Adrian loves making movies, and I love making movies with Adrian, so it just kind of happened one after the other.
So, but this is definitely the last one. That's it. Yeah.
So for Scott, I know some things on your bios and things. It says that you had an interest in composing and audio engineering through your career, and that's really what got you back into movie making.
Right.
And something in this movie that really stood out to me was the score. And I think it was almost a Blade Runner and Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy mashup, which are two of my favorite movies.
Really?
So
Interesting.
Great. So I just wanted to ask, what you see as a relationship between the score and a movie that you direct.
I kind of took the approach of the way John Williams does the Star Wars trilogy. He'll introduce motifs and themes in the first movie. The second movie, he'll add new motifs for new characters, but bring back the old ones, kind of a recurring thing. So this third movie is kind of a combination of themes and motifs that have been in the earlier films, and those are a lot of big orchestral things. And then a lot of new stuff I wanted to add, and a lot more of an electronic soundscape, because the way Adrian writes movies and the way I put them together, there's a lot of montage sequences where a lot of things will be happening, and so I wanted to put like an electronic beat behind that to kind of give the movie some momentum and get through all this exposition in a musical way, you know what I mean? So it keeps the momentum of the movie going.
To move to a different part of the filmmaking process, so something that I really enjoyed too was how consistently well the framing was done. And I'm wondering if that was a direct result of, because there was so much in the writing that translates to screens with graphics on them and all sorts of CG things. I'm wondering if the framing was a result of all those, like needing everything to be perfect because you're going to have so many things put in.
Well, that's a good point. Yeah, this movie especially, so much of it was done with green screen. We did like maybe 3 days of full days of green screen. When we have all the aliens in their spaceships, obviously there's nothing, Adrian We're lucky. Adrian has a townhouse and a huge unfinished basement that every time I go there, I'm like, why haven't you turned this into a man cave or a bar or something like that? He will.
Yeah.
But it's worked out perfectly for our movies because we have so much empty space that it's essentially a sound stage. So we built an entire green screen room, and I knew that we were going to have all of these sequences in the film where there's people, you know, in spaceships. We didn't have spaceship sets or anything like that. I knew I was going to have to do that all in post. So when you talk about the framing for that kind of stuff, I did all these storyboards. I had to meticulously storyboard everything because when you're working on a green screen stage, you're telling people, okay, you want to look over there and you want to press this button and things like that. They're looking at nothing, and I had to keep that all straight in my mind because we had to shoot 15, 20 scenes a day. And, you know, you have to do reverse angles. So, you know, you get them talking this way, and then, you know, you got to reverse on this way. And when you're on green, and sometimes even, you know, John, our camera operator, we would get really confused. Like, now, wait a minute. Now, they were facing this way. Now, if we turn the camera around, are they facing, you know, when you don't have a set to really orient yourself. So the framing was, yes, very specific in the green screen stuff. But then all the other location shooting, yeah, I did a lot of storyboarding because I really wanted our camera operator to know exactly what I was going for. You know, because I'm a filmmaker, I'm a movie buff. So I love, like, the Coen brothers and things like that. Everything is so meticulous. We left some things to chance, but for the most part, everything was storyboarded, and I knew my shot list. So everything was very intentional, and we had a handheld stabilizer rig that we used on this, so we could get a lot of complicated shots, because I like shots that move. You know, you follow an actor down and around and things like that. And that worked out really well. Because we wanted to balance, because we knew we'd have to lock the camera off for all of the green screen alien footage stuff, because you can't really move the camera and then put the effects in post. I don't have the technology to do that. So anytime we weren't on green screen, we wanted the camera really to move as much as we could, because we did not want a static film. We didn't want people just sitting there talking and the cameras, you know, not moving. So yeah, framing was really, really intentional on this movie, and I think it turned out really well. I was really happy with it.
Plus, I mean, the spaceship set is like, it's this big. It's a model.
Yeah,
It's like 2 boxes.
yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
It looked great. Adrian, I wanted to ask, so what is it like with you two working so close together? You acting in your own film that you wrote and having your film partner direct you. Were there any challenges or funny bits
Well,
to that?
obviously remembering the lines is the biggest challenge. You know, I don't blow that many, but I do. You know.
There's a good gag reel worth of Adrian's below lines. We've worked together for so long now, and we keep a small crew. The crew on this movie was a camera guy, Lisa, our sound girl, who was new. She'd never done it before. I'm like, hey, you want to do sound and hold a boom on set? She's like, sure. She loved it. It's a really seamless and easy process making these.
I mean, we have to wear like 10 hats. I mean, I have to do most of the casting. You get so many people that don't fit the role, and, you know, they don't have a car. You know, you have to ask them 2 basic questions. Can you show up? You know, and do you have a car? You know.
How do you get cast in an Adrian movie?
I mean,
can you show up?
Can you show up? Right. So that's so he's got to do the music. He's got to do the editing. He's got to do the directing, and everything else I kind of have to do. So it's really just 2 people. You know, you look at our credits. Who's there? It's us.
You know, it's funny because I was going to ask who did all the. I know that you're the editor, Scott, and I was going to ask who did all the CG work and who did all the details on those screens that everybody's looking at. It looked like that's something that a whole team of people could do.
Yeah, I do it all myself, but that's why I do these movies, because I love doing all that stuff. I would be bored if I was just doing one thing.
A lot of this was shot in the greater Reading area, New Jersey area, so I just wanted to know. Well, I thought the locations were so good, and I was wondering what the location scouting process was like and what it was like to kind of be in your home communities to do this film.
There were 2 locations in New Jersey. Obviously, my studio is always, we try to shoot there, so that's easy. But the Monster House, the 2 owners of the house are the 2 assistants, Vasily and Valerie. They actually own that house.
The crazy Whack Max guys who are dancing.
Okay.
That's their house. I had met them at a Kreskin Christmas party up in North Jersey, and I asked them, I go, could we shoot in your house? You know, we have a movie coming up. And they said, okay. I go, but you guys have to be in the movie. So that's how that worked out. And
they turned out great.
Yeah, they were hilarious.
As far as the rest of the locations go, the whole beach pavilion scene where we shooted all the beach stuff with the bikinis, and then later on in the woods and that dilapidated structure that we go into, that's all private land, so we had full access to it, which everybody does on a low-budget film. You know, you film in places that you already have access to. You know, you can almost write your story around the places
It's
you
backward. You got to write the script backwards. First,
Right.
find the stuff, then write it with those.
Find the
scenes.
locations.
Yeah, that's how we do it.
That's how you keep everything under budget. You know, we filmed up at Blue Marsh Lake, which we filmed before for the last movie. We filmed over in Nolde Forest. You know, just all stuff around here that kind of worked. And it turned out great. I think we were really lucky with all the locations.
Adrian, something that I wanted to ask you is we touched on it before with the pace of the script, and there's not a lot of people just sitting around and talking. So I wanted to talk about how I thought it was interesting the use of like Vexstream News and all those different screens and streams to help tell the story. I was wondering if like what your specific motivations for that were.
Well, again, it's budget. If you can do a news story, you know, and put in some stock footage, you just save yourself hiring 100 people, you know, and we did a lot of that in Cage the Bear 2.
When it came to this movie, I said we can have that stuff, but I want to make sure that we integrate it so it's either in the background or it's more natural. So in this movie, you don't have people just sitting there watching stuff. For the most part, they're doing something else, or it's in the background, or it's on a phone, or you're getting the important information, but the movie just doesn't grind to a halt while we watch that information being conveyed. There's other stuff happening.
Right, yeah, it was very, very seamless, and that's one of the reasons I brought it up. I don't want to keep you guys too long, so to move on to a little bit of a more serious topic, I suppose. When you were making this film, did you realize how like impactful it could be when you're covering these social issues like the Russia and Ukraine conflict and global warming issues like in this film?
Well, that was my intent with the first one. You know, it's the Russian invasion, the annexation of Crimea, the downing of MH17 over Ukraine, all those things that Putin did, and I wanted the people the movie to raise awareness about that. It kind of didn't really accomplish that. So then the second movie was like the transition from a spy hacker movie into a science fiction movie, and then the third part is the payoff, which is the full science fiction. Everything that's going on with media is to basically divide people, okay? And the Whack Max versus Vextra is kind of the same thing, okay? You got the good app and the bad app, and I think it's very on topic as far as also viruses. You know, I'm not saying it's a digital corona or it's a digital drug or something like that, but Whack Max is kind of a digital drug. Okay, people are addicted to the phones. They can't stop using them.
Yeah, Adrian is always trying to put some kind of political messaging in his movie because he's so invested in the Ukraine. And of course, the Russians always make great bad guys.
Yeah.
So you know, it's always
Putin's the best bad guy you can have.
And you know, and in this case, we treat Putin as a comedic character.
So lastly, I just wanted to ask how the unfortunate events of the COVID pandemic has impacted your work and possibly the circuit of festivals and production.
As far as COVID affecting the production, it actually affected it quite a bit. I think we touched on that earlier. Because we were shut down for COVID, we rewrote the whole second act. The whole Natasha arc did not exist in the first script, so that allowed us to really give her a much better arc, much more, many more scenes, and a better character-driven aspect to her and the hackers. So that really, COVID was really nothing but a bonus for us. It really helped the production.
The whole last third of the movie we totally rewrote during COVID. The original script is nothing like the movie.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad that we got what we got, and you're both are safe and sound.
Yeah, thank you.
So Scott Kunkle, director, and Adrian Horodecky, the writer of Cage Bear 3 Stellar INTERVEX. Thank you so much for talking today. It was really insightful.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
It's
Thanks
good.
for having us.
Yeah, and once again, October 9th, you can stream it on the Reading Film Fest Virtual Festival. So thank you very much, guys.
All right.
Thanks a lot.
Nostrovia.